Seaweed!
What did that word bring to your mind? If you're hungry, then maybe it made you think about sushi. But if you're like one of the 286 respondents to our general population questionnaire, then you might have thought green, slimy, or salty. You see, in Western countries, seaweed commonly invokes a picture of something smelly and gross, rotting in piles on beaches. Not a positive image. Even in Japan, where seaweed has been part of traditional culinary culture for centuries, seaweed harvesting is considered as an occupation of the 3 Ks, kitsui, kitanai, and kusai, or difficult, dirty, and smelly. Given this little image issue, you might ask, why are we even talking to you about seaweed in the first place? Well, as we are sure is the case for all of you, our team is very concerned about conversations surrounding sustainability. And it turns out that seaweed is a really interesting and, we think, crucial part of those conversations. First, let us remind you that seaweed isn't new. It has been historically consumed and used by humans for millennia. Obviously, the relationship humans have with seaweed has not been homogeneous across the planet. Still today, the seaweed cultivation industry is highly skewed, with over 97% of the cultivated seaweed being produced in Asia. Additionally, despite regular global consumption of seaweed in the form of additives or stabilizers in processed and hyper-processed foods, consumption of seaweed as is almost exclusively limited to East Asia. However, a niche consumption is growing elsewhere. Remember, some of you thought about sushi earlier.
Uses for seaweed go beyond human consumption as a foodstuff, though. It also has applications as agricultural fertilizer, livestock feed, farm fish feed, biostimulants, cosmetic, nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals, textile fibers, biopackaging, waste treatment, carbon capture or sequestration, bioenergy, and way more. Additionally, cultivation of seaweed is valued as an ecosystem service and widely recognized, as seaweed cultivation is gaining increased attention for its potential in reducing greenhouse gases. We could go on, but we are limited in time. So the final point we want you to know is that there is a phenomenon known as a Seaweed Revolution. It aims to sustainably generalize the cultivation of seaweed globally, valuing seaweed's compounds and their potential for innovation without unbalancing ecosystems. It is a systematic approach, linking oceans and seas with terrestrial societies, allowing for the building of a regenerative and sustainable systems. If you want to know more about it, then we're afraid you'll just have to read our academic report. But for now, what's important for you to retain is that our Capston project explored the possibilities that a more generalized seaweed cultivation could offer the sustainability conversation, and how our main stakeholder, the Safe Seaweed Coalition, or the SSC, could take steps to increase the communication capacity of the Seaweed Revolution.
To answer our main research question, first we mapped the relevant stakeholders. Initially, we used the salience model created by Mitchell et al. To get an understanding and overview of the large variety of stakeholders involved in this potential market. Prior to this, a list of stakeholders was collected based on the literature and resources recommended by the principal project stakeholder, knowledge from previous courses, and stakeholders' feedback. It outlines all parties involved in seaweed activities and affected by changes in the seaweed market. The model represents the different characteristics and acknowledges that some stakeholders fit into different categories, which we then visually map into a Venn diagram. This allowed a detailed overview of the involved stakeholders. However, within the scope of the project, it remained unclear which stakeholders needed to be involved in the research, which stakeholders could be seen as promoters of the objective, and who had untapped potential to contribute to the Seaweed Revolution. The power interest matrix was therefore used to analyze stakeholder communities and to foster management decisions, to specify the stakeholders directly involved in this particular research. To cut a long story short, this mapping and the observations pulled from it resulted in the main research audiences being the SSC members, the SSC Secretariat, the seaweed ambassadors, and the general public.
We then built a methodology which would allow our team to cover as much ground as possible within the limits of time and resources we had at our disposal. This led to the creation of a four-pronged, mixed methods triangulation approach, We call it the dodecagon of mixed method research. 2 online surveys were administered to collect quantitative data. One was disseminated to the members of the SSC and included questions designed to understand motivations and perceptions of the coalition and the Seaweed Revolution. The second was addressed to a broader public, with no link to the seaweed sector, with questions intended to understand the perspectives, interests, and knowledge, or lack thereof, around seaweed and its potential sustainable solutions. Qualitative data collection was done through semi-structured interviews with 5 of the 6 SSC Secretariat members, as well as 15 out of 34 seaweed ambassadors. Our 4 individual chapters each combined qualitative and quantitative data analysis with a third method, narrative review with a systematic approach, systematic literature review, affordance analysis, and textual analysis. Bringing these methods together allowed us to determine societal contributions, provide recommendations for future actions, draw conclusions, and decide on products and deliverables which would be most accessible, feasible, and useful for the SSC in order to increase the communication capacity of the Seaweed Revolution.
Why is this important? Well, the Seaweed Revolution is not some miracle cure to our planet's climate crisis, nor is it the answer to all our sustainability challenges. However, it is an important part of the answer which has, up to now, gone unseen. It is crucial that awareness of the sustainability possibilities proposed by the Seaweed Revolution, backed always by science, make their way into broader sustainability conversations on a European level, but also on a more global scale.
In addition to our full academic report, wherein you can read the full extent of our research and analysis, to answer the needs of our main stakeholder, the SSC, we will also be delivering a communication strategy report. A communication strategy report is a plan of action designed to achieve a set of communication aims and objectives. This communication strategy will build a framework to improve the SSC communication by identifying the key messages and providing a set of prioritized recommendations and overarching objectives. The report aims to be simple, easy to read, which may not necessarily be said for a 10,000 plus word academic report. Sorry. With actionable steps to be taken. The report will also include mention of a testing or a prototyping phase and how to measure the success of that phase before moving forward.
The report will include descriptions of pre-prepared communication tools the SSC will need to put in place for its key communicators, the seaweed ambassadors. As such, further deliverables beyond the report itself will include examples of pre-prepared communication tools. These tools have been chosen based on the quantitative and qualitative data we collected. The interviews with the SSC Secretariat members and active seaweed ambassadors were extremely valuable in determining which tools would be most effective, accessible, and of course, useful. They include pedagogical tools for talk preparation, social media platform post examples and/or templates, tool recommendations to be used by ambassadors to create their own posts, infographics, podcast creation guide, and believe it or not, recipes.
Communication campaigns, especially on a global scale, are obviously multi-channel affairs which evolve constantly. Our hope is that our deliverables will be useful springboards for the SSC, building on the foundation they have laid over the past couple years. Our greatest desire is that our research and the communication strategy report developed from it will effectively help increase the communication capacity of the Seaweed Revolution. We also hope that this presentation has inspired you to learn more about seaweed and its potential sustainable solutions, and who knows, maybe even to join the Seaweed Revolution yourselves. We are Celia,
Scarlett,
Alexia,
And Tebe.
and we thank you so much for watching. We look forward to your questions and feedback. Bye-bye for now.